Hello and welcome to a Bible study with me. Today we'll be starting a brand new series, the study of the book of Exodus, and we'll be going through from chapter 1 all through to the end, chapter by chapter. And today in particular, we'll be studying chapter 1 and chapter 2 together. Let's dive in. Exodus chapter 1, verse 1. Now these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Egypt. Each man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. All those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 persons, for Joseph was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, all his brethren, and all that generation. But the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly, multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory, but I will just read this part again because I don't think anything is usually said in the Bible uh, without a reason. So here we see the way the children of Israel, the growth of the children of Israel is classified or is described. In verse 7, so the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly. It could have ended there, right? It could have only just been fruitful, they were fruitful, or they increased abundantly. That was not all that was said. There was also replied that they multiplied. It was implied that they multiplied, so they were fruitful, they increased abundantly, they multiplied, and they grew exceedingly mighty. That is to just emphasize how much of them they were. From the 70 that came with Jacob to Egypt. It really ended. It also added that the land was filled with them, that it really got to the point where they became too much. This just points a light to the fact that it was understand. I imagine myself as a leader of a community or a country or something and having to deal with this kind of situation. Outsiders now becoming greater or almost greater or becoming too much in number than the actual dwellers. You start questioning yourself. You start wanting to do something about it. All right. So I can understand up to a part because whichever way they are outsiders, they always feel like outsiders, they always remain outsiders, especially when they are not integrating into the society, they're not doing everything everybody is doing, they're not marrying people from the society, they're all marrying within themselves, they're keeping to their own traditions, they're separate, they're a community of their own. It's obvious that as a community you start having second thoughts like these people are not part of us. On a day-to-day basis you see the differences between actual people of that community and the outsiders, and you see them growing exceedingly abundantly, and multiplying and filling the land, right? So it's understand. I think it was why I'm saying this now because I'm trying to hint on the fact that this was God making this thing happen. It was time for them to leave. It was time. Uh, if it had happened another way, if they were not this great in number, or if they had different laws or agreements or covenants that had allowed them to integrate into other society, it would have been different. They would have just blended in with the Egyptians and they would have become Egyptians at the end of the day. They would have become Egyptians, story closed. Maybe they would have grown and multiplied but as Egyptians, right? Or they would have blended and become Egyptians, Israelites, you know? But that was not the case. They were always easy to spot out because of how different they were culture wise, even the way they dress, and it was always different. It's obvious as time goes on, we'll see. But from the way it has been, because remember if you have been studying with me so up to this point in the book of Genesis, we saw even when they were still in the land of Canaan, we will see the way they were distinguished from the Canaanites and all that. Even when they had to go to the land of Shechem, that finally ended up being destroyed by the children of Israel. They were different. They had different customs. They were easily spotted out. They had to they didn't marry. They couldn't marry other people. They couldn't marry their family, their sisters to other communities. It was obvious. I'm spending a lot of time explaining this, so let me just keep on going. Anyway, verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, look, the people of Israel are more and mightier than we. Okay. Come, let us deal surely with them, lest they multiply, and it happen. And in the event of war, excuse me. In the event of war, they also join our enemy and fight against us and take up the land. It's a justified fear. I have nothing wrong with that fear. All right, up to this point, nothing wrong. Maybe the way they treated them, because they were saying, oh, let's treat them harshly. Maybe that would not be the point. You'd have asked them to leave quietly and leave them kind. Okay, you guys are now too much for us. Please leave. I think it got to a point even in the past in Genesis when Abraham and no, it was not Abraham. It was Isaac. It was Isaac. Isaac in the land of who? Was it not also the Egyptians? Christ. It may have very well been the Egyptians as well. No, it was not the Egyptians. Yeah, I remember he went to the Egyptians and he lied about his wife. No. Yeah, I'm confusing the fact. Abraham lied once about Sarah being his wife. Isaac did it twice. Or Abraham did it twice. Isaac did it once. I'm confusing myself. But the point I'm trying to make here is in the past as well, Isaac, when he was with Abimelech in the city of Abimelech, I don't remember the name of the city, he was asked to leave because he was growing abundantly. He was, doing way better. So the moon got to this point, they asked him to kindly leave. You are doing too much. You are doing way better than us. Please go somewhere else. We can no longer accommodate you. The Egyptians could have done something similar, So let's see what they did, if they did something similar. But they're already saying, let's treat them harshly. That's already, different. But let's see how it goes. Verse 11. Therefore, they set taxmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom and Rames. So they became builders. But the more they afflicted them, the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. So the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar, in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service in which they made them serve was with rigor. They treated them harshly. Right? They made them turn to builders. They used them anyhow. All right. They didn't treat them right. Anyway, verse 15. Then the king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when do the duties of a midwife of the Hebrew women, or when you do the duties of a midwife for the Hebrew women, right, and see them on the bedstool, if it is a son, then you shall kill them, but if it is a daughter, then she shall live. He was talking to Hebrew midwives. He was telling Hebrew midwives, if any of your people are giving birth to male children, kill them. If they are female, no problem. Me as a Hebrew, killing my fellow Hebrew woman's daughter, son, would have been hard already. If he was passing this law to Egyptians, like, go and make sure that these Hebrew women, anytime they are giving birth, kill their sons, it would have been different. Telling the Hebrew midwives to kill their fellow countryman's children is already a meaning. But let's see. Verse 17. But the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, obviously, but saved the male children alive. All right. So the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing and saved the male children? And the midwife said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are very lively and give birth before the before the midwives come to them. Oh, I see this. I think this is where the prayer points come. You will give birth like the Hebrew women. I've heard people pray this prayer to pregnant women before. You will give birth, your birth shall be easy, shall be go like the Hebrew. I'm butchering the saying, but there's a saying that goes in that regard. Giving birth easy like the Hebrew women. Verse 19. No, sorry, verse 20. Therefore God dealt with the midwives. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mightily. They have been growing obviously over and over again. Right? This is the third time, apart from the first time we saw it, then they grew, they multiplied, and everything. It was mentioned again that the more they treated them harshly, the more they multiplied. And now again, another time, she's saying again, they grew and they kept on multiplying. All right. 21. And so it was, because the midwives feared God, God provided household for them. So Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, every son who is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. All his people, Egyptians or Israelites or both alike. Which of them was it referring to here? Probably both. Because it just says there in verse 22, so Pharaoh commanded all his people. So I believe everybody, both. He made it a common law, like, okay, since if it's becoming hard to do, let's do it so that it will be everybody. So if the Egyptians are not doing it, it now become an upset, an uproar in the people, like, okay, I'm doing it, I'm killing it, the Egyptians are doing it, why are these people not doing it? The Egyptians will not take law on their hands. I think that's the point here. I'm guessing, like, it's not really clear, but it just states here. So the Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, every son who is born, you shall cast into the river. It was a law. It became a commandment for everybody. Verse 2. Chapter 2, verse 1. And the man of the house of Levi went and took as a wife a daughter of Levi. So the woman conceived and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a beautiful child, she hid him 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of bulrushes for him, daubed it with asphalt and pitch, put the child in it, and laid it in the reeds by the river bank. And his sister stood afar off to know what would be done to him. Then the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, and her maidens walked along the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it. And when she opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, he is one of the Hebrew children. Then her sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, go. So the maiden went and called the child's mother. Then Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages. So the woman took the child and nursed him. The child grew, brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. So she named his name Moses, saying, because I drew him out of the water. Alright? Simple explanation. Up to this point, every son has been killed. Any child that was born, I think in the whole of Egypt, any child that was, it's not clarified here, but I'm just going on with that. Every son that was born was being killed, right? Also the point, in this period, Moses was born. He was born of a Levi man and a Levi woman, I think a priest. Or was it just a Levi man? Okay, not a priest. A Levi man and a Levi woman, alright. And she saw he was beautiful so much. She had compassion on him. That's the mother, Moses' mother. She didn't kill him. She hid him for 3 months as much as she could. I think after 3 months, that's the worst of it now. It's easier to hid him for 3 months. You could have just keep on hiding him. Anyway, she couldn't hide him forever. So after 3 months, she took him to the waters, made a small basket for him. It's called an ark here, ark of bulrushes, right? And put him in the water and made her sister watch over him, right? And happened one day, the Pharaoh's daughter went to the river to bathe. She saw this baby in the water, swimming in the water in the ark, the bowl, basket, or whatever in the water. And she had compassion. She took him in and basically gave him back to his mother, unknowing to her, obviously. Gave him back to his mother to take care of him. Paid her to do so that when he's older, she will bring him back. She did so. She called his name Moses because she drew him out of water. That's basically the meaning of Moses, right? Yeah. Okay, so let's go. Verse 11. Now it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown that he went out of his brethren and looked at their burdens. And he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his brethren. So he looked this way and that way. When he saw no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. And then he went out the second day. Behold, two Hebrew men were fighting. Why is there always fight? Right? And he said to the one who did the wrong, why are you striking your companion? Then he said, who made you a prince and a judge over us? Did you intend to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? So Moses feared and said, surely this thing is known. When Pharaoh heard of this matter, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. All right. Let's go over this again, right? So Pharaoh, Moses is grown now. He's basically a grandson to Pharaoh, right? Adopted grandson to Pharaoh, but a grandson to Pharaoh what is him. And every time he comes out strolling, he sees how he's obviously he didn't hide the fact that he's an Israelite because of his customs and whatever. So he has to maintain that. But he's fortunate enough to be in the palace of Pharaoh, right? Okay. So he's always having compassion when he sees how his fellow Hebrew men are being treated on a day-to-day basis. On one particular day, he saw in an secluded area, sorry, he saw an Egyptian treating a Hebrew person badly. He intervened. There was nobody checked where there was nobody. He intervened and killed the Egyptian person, buried the person, and ran off. The next day again, or some other, it basically says the next day. So the next day, he comes out again. He sees two Israelites fighting this time, and he tries to make peace with them. Like, why are you fighting your brother? He's a fellow brother, you know. And the guy was like, who are you? Who made you king and judge over us to tell us what to do, who to fight, who not to fight? Or do you want to kill me the way you killed the Egyptian? When Moses heard this thing, he was like, man, everybody knows. For this people to know and mock me with it, everybody knows. And rightly so, everybody knew. When Pharaoh heard about it, Pharaoh was looking for him to kill him. So he ran away and he went to the land of Midian. Now, I don't know how far Midian is from Egypt, if it is in the same, if it's still in Egypt, but in a city in Egypt, I don't know. I have no map with me in front here. But obviously, is as he went to Egypt, he went to the land of Midian and he was there. Now, I'm just going to say this because it says he sat down by the well. Let me finish reading, then I will say what I want to say about this well that he's sitting down on right now. Verse 16. Now the prince of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. Then the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered the flock. Hopefully, they didn't kill the shepherd that drove them away, because he's always killing people. He has hunger issues. Verse 18. When they came to rear their father, he said, how is it that you have come so soon today? And they said, an Egyptian delivered us from the hands of the shepherd. Oh, maybe he was not really obvious that he was an Israelite, because these people did not know he was an Israelite. They called him obviously an Egyptian. So maybe he was dressed as an Egyptian. I can't comment on that. I don't know. Anyway, they said an Egyptian delivers us from the hand of the shepherds. He also drew enough water for us and watered the flock. Verse 20. So he said to his daughters, and where is he? Why is it that you have left this man? Call him that he may eat bread. So Moses went. Verse 21. Then Moses was content to live with the man, and he gave Zephora his daughter to Moses, and she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a foreign land. 23. Now it came to the pass in the process of time that the king of Egypt died. Okay. Then the children of Israel groaned because of the bondage, and they cried out, and their cry came up to God because of the bondage. So God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God acknowledged them. Oh, that's it. Oh, that was very fast. Okay, I thought there was still more. So quick recap. Right, I was talking about the well. If you notice, he met his wife in the well. I didn't want to say that yet because we are not ready yet, but read to the point where he was by where he sat down in the well, and while he was in the well, he met the 7 daughters of a man, who one of the daughters he finally married. He helped them with what. Why I'm not mentioning this is because we have seen in the past, most of all these people in the past, they all met their wives in the well. Let's trace it back to Jacob. Immediately, Jacob, he met his wife. Not really, was it he met his wife. How did Jacob meet his wife? Rachel. He met his wife at the well. Yes. He met Rachel at the well. He helped her. Am I saying trash? I'm very sure he met Rachel at the well. Then he went to work for her father. But she now got deceived and ended up marrying her sister friend and then married Rachel. That's what happened. His father, Isaac, Abraham sent his servant to get a wife for him. He went to the well, waited at the well before he now finally met Rebecca. Who was Isaac's wife? Rebecca, right? Yes. Point is, well as well. They're all meeting themselves at the well. You know? That's where you find the wife at the well. That's not what I wanted to point out. So about right, there's just this recurring fact of meeting your spouse, your God designed spouse for you at the well. So what we need to find out now is where is the well in our day-to-day society where we can meet our spouse, Yeah, that's it. The rest is he married, he stayed with them, started living with them, married one of them, gave birth to a son, Gershom. The name of the woman he married was Zephaniah, one of the daughters of the priest of Midian. And yeah, then the Pharaoh of Egypt died, the one that was looking for Moses, and the children of Israel started crying to God to save them from the bondage because they were under really great bondage, and he heard their prayer. So we see what goes on in the next chapters as we read. I can't wait. It's getting really interesting. Exodus is just interesting from the start. It just started getting interesting immediately. So, thank you for studying with me today. Let's quickly say a prayer. May the Lord bless us in our heart. May He give us wisdom to understand and knowledge to guide our paths in Jesus' name. Amen. Yeah. See you next time. Bye bye.